Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. I'm David. It's still repotting season here in Melbourne. Late mid-winter, mid-August, sorry, late. I like to do my trees before September starts most times. This little shimpaku juniper is something that I'm looking at putting into a bonsai pot this year. So what do? It's a good little tree. I actually designed it, I think, in one of my videos on YouTube somewhere some time ago. You can see it's actually quite a nice little tree. If I spin it around, it's got some nice gins towards the back. Unfortunately, the gins at the back, not much we can do because we really can't have the foliage on that side at the moment. All the foliage is coming forward and the tree's got some sort of slant. Ideally, I want to actually get the tree more something like that. It depends which side I like more. I'm going to have a better look at it, but it's going to be upright a little bit more. So rather than that, it looks like it's falling over. I want to try and get this more parallel. This is probably the lowest branch, and I want it in a nice plane, just below the horizontal. So just going underneath. That's the aim. So that's the angle I want to try and go for. The front is somewhere in that region, and I'm going to have a look at this tree. This was, I believe, an ELA off some time ago, so it's nice and healthy and strong. We're going to have a look at the roots. Looks good from here on top, but let's have a look underneath, what the tree looks like, and then we'll look at a couple of pot options. I have had a look, and there's a couple that I've got in mind. We'll see what comes about. I'm not 100% sure which one I'm going to go with. But we'll work it out. One's a safe pot, one's a little bit more risky pot. So it's in between. I don't have one that's in between. You'll see what I mean. But let's have a look at this tree and what it looks like under the roots, because that's more important. All right, let's go. Let's get it out of the pot. Should just get that. Yep. That's a coming twos. Let's comb this out. Always comb out the roots. You don't just go and chop them. I don't know what that is. I think I might maybe just put it in another pot at one stage. So I'm just using my hands to comb it out. I don't need to use any root hooks or anything like that. There's a bit of it was an ELA because there's a bit of sphagnum. You can see the sphagnum moss in between. Still in between, which is good. The roots are really solid on this side. What does it tell you? The roots are solid on this side. Where's the foliage on this side? Makes sense, right? The roots are on this side of the tree. Good physiology about trees, I guess. How roots and foliage work. I'm going to keep combing it out with my hands. Kind of boring, but you can always fast forward this little bit if you want. It's an important part. I want to try and also, you pick through and you find weed roots, so make sure you try and eliminate a lot of those. It's important. Always be looking at your tree, what you're going to do. I'm just having a closer look, and I've seen on the deadwood side there's a bit of not much root there, but it's also got the airlay part. See that bit? That's where I airlayed it, and this side had no roots. If that kind of, you know what I'm saying, guys? Yeah. So I'm just going to make sure I clear all that out because I don't want to have that around in the pot. So it's not looking too bad. Lots of roots, lots of healthy roots. More on the one side of the tree. So that's good. So we just got to work out what we're going to do with it and how we're going to repot it. Might give it a little rinse just to keep it nice and moist. Doesn't need to be removed too much. I mean, most of the I don't need to remove too much root, but I will. Just trim it off a little bit. But I want to actually make sure in here I get a lot of the sphagnum moss off. And try and comb out the roots as best I can. Because the last thing I want is tangled roots. So that's why I'm just taking a bit more time and just trying to untangle these roots. I don't want to break too many. I just want to make sure I'm untangling them because they're a little bit round. They're a little bit going round and round and round. So it's a bit unfortunate. So I'm just using my hands to comb out a lot of this. You can now start to see, once I untangle it, the sphagnum moss is kind of falling out, so that's good. Again, lots of nice healthy roots. Shouldn't be any problem with this tree recovering. It's just I want to start it in the best possible, give it a best possible chance to really kick along and do really well. So, alright guys, so I've given it a comb out with my hands. You can see the nice, it's quite nice healthy foliage. I mean, healthy foliage, healthy roots. Give the roots a bit of a trim. They are drying to dry out a bit. So before I trim any more, I'm going to go and give it a rinse with some water, just to give them nice and wet. Okay. Alright team, I've given it a nice little rinse. You can see how nice and healthy the roots are now. They're not going to dry out anytime soon. Now I'm just trying to play around with the angles that I want this tree to be at and what I like. Now it's really tricky. The annoying thing is the diplets at the back, and I really can't expose that. So I'm just trying to play around with angles now. If I try and make this upright, this gets a bit straight. Yeah, it's a bit tricky. I'm just going to have to try and work out what I like it to look like, and then I'll show you the pots I've got in mind. So it's a little bit tricky, but I guess I could always tweak the tree once I'm happy with the angle that I like to look at the tree. Alright, so these are the two pots I got in mind for it. Now I've got this nice little drumish kind of looking pot. Looks quite good. I think this was my original choice. And I look at it and was like, I'm just not 100% convinced just yet. So if I want to get it, looks good. Like you can, looks pretty good in the camera. Just this part is annoying me because it's going a bit more straight. Because I don't want to lean it too much in this pot. This pot needs a bit more, have a bit more of an upright tree. That's just how I feel. So it doesn't look too bad. I like it. I'm not 100% convinced. I've got this little bit more solid looking pot, which if you plant the tree on, I'll just try and put it in the pot and show you. It doesn't look too bad either, because it's going to be a little bit more off the middle and goes that way, you know. So I'm in two minds. It's always hard to choose a pot sometimes. You're just not 100% sure sometimes on the pot. So I've got those two. I think this is probably still my favourite choice. And the other thing good with this is that I can actually, I'm not happy with the tree, the angle, I can always, because it's a drum pot, I can change the angle and find the best possible angle in the future. So I might go with this tree, I might go with this pot actually. I'm just going to have to live with this being more upright. That's the only problem. I can always do a bit of carving there to get rid of that straightness. Because I don't want the tree to lean over, I want a bit more upright like that. So I think this tree's going to win, this pot's going to win. So I'm just going to put some wire in it. Alright guys, so I've just threaded all the wire through the pot. Now I am going to probably reduce a little bit more of the roots. Just a little bit. Try and pick the front of the pot. Trying to spread the roots around. Now I'm going to have to put a bit more soil on the side, on this side of the tree, just because it needs to hold there. There's not that many roots on that side, so it's a bit tricky. I don't want the tree to fall over once we repot it. That's going to be the hardest bit, is the tree falling over. And I'm going to try and tie it in. It's always a bit tricky, especially when it's a new tree and you're going into a new bonsai pot. It's always a little bit tricky, especially with the roots everywhere. Alright guys, so I've tightened the first wire. Now it's a matter of the tree still not 100% secure. So now before I do the second wire, I make sure I try and get the angle right, get the tree how I want it to look, push the soil up in the areas that I need it to go into. Work my soil in. So now's the time to really set the look of the tree and the position before you do the second wire. Because once you put that one on, it's going to be hard to maneuver the rest of the tree. Now I've got a much better position. I'm going to tighten the old wires. Much better. It's holding in place a bit more. Now I'm just going to get these wires around here and tie this bit in. Now hopefully I won't have to touch this tree for another 3 to 4 years in this pot. Really, I wouldn't need to repot this tree for some time. It's got a decent enough soil and to move around. The junipers don't grow like massive amount of roots like deciduous trees and maples and things like that. So, you know, this could stay in this pot for quite some time. And I only really repot my junipers when the soil is very dense and I can't get the water to go through. And that's it. That's the only time really. Or when I want to change pots, which is not very often, but sometimes you find a really great pot for a tree and you want to change it. So, so I'm not entirely happy just yet, but it's starting to look where I want it to look. So it looks pretty cool. And now I'm just going to use the soil and chopstick and work the rest of the soil in, and hopefully that holds the tree nicely in place. Because it's just a little bit wobbly still, and I think it's just because there's no roots on this side of the tree. And I want to try, and once I use the chopstick, I can work the soil in on this side to try and boost it back up. So, chopsticks are great for this, to really push the soil in. Alright, so that's pretty much it, completed. I'm just going to go and give it a water, and clean it up, and then I'll show you the last final result. We'll do a little spin around. Okay. Alright everyone, so here's the little tree, and it looks pretty nice in this pot. A little bit off centre, but let me just double check where it is. Somewhere around there, yeah, you're right, somewhere around there. A little bit off centre. Maybe in the future I'll move it slightly to the to this way a bit more, this way. But how's that look, guys? I think it's come along really nicely. I think the pot suits it. And it's a lovely, lovely little tree. I'm pretty happy with it. So there you go. Anyway guys, I've got a few more to do, and just keep watching as we repot some of these little mini shimpakus that I've got. And one day I was going to plan to do a little video on my whole mini collection. Hopefully you guys will appreciate that. But we've got a few more to do, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.